one of this year's winners. Slater King joins us. Hi, Slater. Congratulations.
Hi there. Thank you so much, John.
Let's talk about your picture to start with, shall we? We'll see it, and you can tell us what we're seeing.
Awesome. Well, that's Ryan, and he's working in a hospital. That's just before he goes into one of the rooms, because the ward that he was working on was a COVID ward, but the corridor is called green area, so it's not kind of dangerous. But then he has to put on all of that sort of outfit before he goes in. He cleans and feeds the people, does the kind of non-medical stuff. Really, really important job, because obviously you can't work without the other people supporting the medics.
Yeah, and I guess you couldn't work at the time without all the PPE on, and just the light in that just suggests the kind of loneliness and the kind of the significance of that battle he and so many others were going through.
Yeah, and because I think that's what it sums up, really, because I was speaking to lots of them, lots of the people working in the hospitals, from the top consultants to the nurses and the housekeepers and the cleaners and the porters and the warehouse staff, and they went through a really, really tough time. I mean, it's incredible what they did. And I think you kind of get a little bit of a feeling of that. It's such a lonely place. You put it all on and you march into the room, you do whatever you're doing, whether it's medical or, feeding them or whatever. But at the back of your mind, I'm sure, I mean, not me, because I wasn't really there apart from the pictures. But yeah, it's crazy what they did. It's such an achievement. And it's a tough one.
Slater, I mean, it's obviously something that has impacted you. I'm just seeing over your right shoulder some pictures on the wall. You're obviously a keen photographer, and they look very similar of other workers as well. This is obviously something that you've taken to your heart? Yeah,
well, what it was, I'm a professional photographer, portrait photographer, and during lockdown, I was just, I started to kind of be a bit concerned that the stories and the people and the memories of it all would just kind of evaporate, as time goes on. Like normally you go on a holiday and 3 weeks later you've forgotten it. I was just worried, so I put some feelers out to different places, and I went in and I spent a lot of time in this hospital, Whittington Hospital in North London, and photographed, as I said, people from throughout the whole spectrum of the hospital, and we're putting it into a book. It's going to be 91 people with their images and their stories.
How did they react when you asked for their photos to be taken? Because we often speak to so many, NHS workers, and we call them heroes, who kind of just say, no, look, I'm just getting on with my everyday job. I'm nothing special.
Yeah, well, that was one of the questions that I asked them a lot about, like the clapping and the heroes and stuff like that. And what I think, the book will be ready in about a month. And I think if you were to flick through it, you'd kind of, a picture would emerge, kind of dot by dot, person by person. And so many people had different views. There was one guy who really didn't like the clapping. He thought that it kind of implied that they were amateurish. He said that we have a crisis every 10 years during the winter. It's what we do. We're professionals. This is what we do. You had students who were in university who got pushed out really quickly and put into the hospital setting, really new to it, surrounded by all of this incredible situation. And they took a lot of solace and a lot of power from the clapping. One guy, Yusuf, that I was speaking to, he was telling me that at first the clapping, he was really keen for it. He thought that it was a real good celebration of the NHS.
It's so
but he told me...
Sorry to interrupt, we're running out of time, but it's obviously very clear that, so many different characters and impacts are having. And look, congratulations, Slater. It's a great thing.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Well done for making the book.